Imagine a world where the horrors of September 11th never unfolded. A world where the events of that tragic day are nothing more than a distant nightmare that never came to pass. The Twin Towers still grace the New York skyline, standing tall and proud. The Pentagon remains untouched, a symbol of unbroken security. A field in Pennsylvania remains a peaceful patch of land, undisturbed by the tragedy that would have marked it. This is not an exercise in rewriting history, but rather a thought experiment, a way to ponder the alternate paths our world could have taken. It's an exploration of how profoundly different our world might be if that fateful day had never come to pass. How our conversations, our policies, and our lives might have evolved differently. The attacks of September 11th, 2001 cast a long shadow, shaping global events for decades. They altered the course of history in ways we are still grappling with today. The War on Terror, launched in response, redefined American foreign policy, reshaped the Middle East, and altered the global security landscape. It led to conflicts that have lasted for years, affecting countless lives. But what if that war never began? What if the chain of events that followed September 11th was never set into motion? What if the world had never been forced to grapple with the spectre of global terrorism as we know it today? How would international relations and global diplomacy have evolved? The absence of September 11th would have left the world grappling with a vastly different set of challenges and opportunities. Perhaps we would have focused more on other global issues like climate change, poverty, and technological advancements. The United States, freed from the imperative to combat terrorism, might have charted a different course on the world stage. Its policies and priorities could have been directed towards other pressing matters. This is the world we'll explore in this essay, a world where September 11th never happened, a world where the possibilities are endless and the future is uncharted. Without the war on terror dominating its agenda, the United States might have pursued a foreign policy focused on different priorities. The trillions of dollars spent on military interventions in Afghanistan and Iraq could have been directed towards domestic programs such as education, healthcare, or infrastructure. The US military, not bogged down in protracted conflicts, might have maintained a different posture around the world. This could have meant a smaller military footprint, less emphasis on counterinsurgency, and a greater focus on traditional security threats. The absence of the Iraq War, a defining foreign policy decision of the 21st century, could have had ripple effects across the Middle East. The US, not mired in a costly and divisive conflict, might have been more willing to engage in diplomatic efforts to resolve regional conflicts. The Middle East, a region already on the cusp of change in 2001, has always been a complex tapestry of cultures, religions, and political landscapes. The events that followed might have taken a dramatically different trajectory without the destabilizing impact of the war on terror. The invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq set off a chain reaction that reverberated throughout the region. Saddam Hussein's regime in Iraq, while undoubtedly brutal, could have remained intact, potentially altering the regional balance of power. His fall created a power vacuum that many groups sought to fill. The rise of ISIS, a direct consequence of the chaos and instability in post-invasion Iraq, may never have come to pass. The group's emergence was fueled by the disintegration of state structures and the ensuing chaos. The group, which capitalized on sectarian violence and a power vacuum, might not have found fertile ground to take root and spread its ideology of hatred. The sectarian divide was exacerbated by the lack of a strong central authority. The Arab Spring, a series of pro-democracy uprisings that swept across the region in 2011, might have unfolded differently without the backdrop of the US-led interventions in Iraq and Afghanistan. These interventions had a profound impact on the political dynamics of the region. The uprisings, fueled by a desire for political freedom and economic opportunity, were often overshadowed by violence and instability, partly shaped by the legacy of US involvement in the region. The hopes and dreams of many were caught in the crossfire of a region in turmoil. In a world untouched by the tragic events of September 11th, the United States might have forged different alliances and partnerships, focusing more on mutual interests and shared values. The need to secure allies in the war on terror led to pragmatic, if sometimes uncomfortable, partnerships with countries with questionable human rights records. Without this imperative, the US might have been freer to pursue alliances based on shared values rather than strategic necessity. This shift could have led to a more stable and cooperative international environment. The relationship between the US and Russia, strained by the expansion of NATO and the conflict in Ukraine, could have taken a different path. A path where cooperation and mutual understanding might have been prioritized over confrontation. Without the common enemy of radical Islamic terrorism, cooperation on issues like arms control and non-proliferation might have been more likely. China, rapidly emerging as a global power in the 21st century, might have been viewed differently by the United States. Instead of seeing China primarily as a competitor without the distraction of the war on terror, the US might have focused earlier on the strategic challenge posed by China's rise, potentially fostering a more balanced and nuanced approach to international relations. Section 5. Beyond the shadow of terrorism. Without the spectre of global terrorism looming large, the world might have been able to focus on different global challenges. Climate change, already recognized as a serious threat in 2001, might have received greater attention and resources. Global poverty and inequality, issues that contribute to instability and conflict, might have been higher on the international agenda. The Millennium Development Goals, adopted by the United Nations in 2000, might have been pursued with greater urgency and resources. The rise of pandemics, a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the world, might have been met with a more coordinated and effective global response. The COVID-19 pandemic, which highlighted the importance of international cooperation and the need for robust public health systems, might have been a stark reminder of the shared challenges facing humanity. Section 6. The Preserved Freedoms. The Patriot Act, passed in the aftermath of 9/11, expanded the government's surveillance powers in the name of national security. In a world without 9/11, this controversial legislation might never have been enacted, preserving civil liberties and privacy rights. The debate over the balance between security and freedom, a perennial issue in democratic societies, might have played out differently without the urgency and fear that followed the 9/11 attacks. The erosion of privacy in the digital age, a growing concern in the 21st century, might have been met with greater resistance. Section 7. Technology's Restrained Evolution. The technological landscape we inhabit today has been shaped in profound ways by the war on terror. Surveillance technologies, data mining, and facial recognition software, all developed and refined in the name of counterterrorism, might have evolved differently without the same impetus. Airport security, a visible reminder of the 9/11 attacks, might not have undergone the same level of transformation. The Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, created in the aftermath of 9/11, might not exist in its current form. Section 8. A Different America. Beyond foreign policy and technology, the absence of 9/11 might have had a profound impact on American society itself. The national psyche, scarred by the trauma of the attacks, might have evolved differently without the collective experience of that day. The political discourse, often polarized in the aftermath of 9/11, might have been less divisive and less focused on issues of national security and terrorism. The rise of populism and nationalism, fueled in part by anxieties about terrorism and immigration, might have been less pronounced. Islamophobia, which spiked after 9/11, might not have taken root as deeply in American society. The Muslim American community, often unfairly targeted and stereotyped, might have faced less discrimination and prejudice. Section 9. Conclusion. The ripple that never was. This exploration of a world without 9/11 is not meant to diminish the very real pain and loss experienced by those who suffered as a result of the attacks. It is, however, a reminder that even the most seemingly insignificant events can have far-reaching consequences, shaping the course of history in unpredictable ways. The world we live in today is, in many ways, a product of the choices made in response to the 9/11 attacks. By imagining a world where those attacks never happened, we gain a deeper understanding of the forces that have shaped our present and the possibilities that might lie ahead. The ripple effects of 9/11 continue to be felt today, but by contemplating a world untouched by that tragedy, we can perhaps begin to imagine a future where peace, cooperation, and understanding prevail.